Hey guys, what's up? Chemistry here. Today I am going to briefly get into my dubstep series, before my remix series and all that stuff. The FOP to all this will be in the description, letting you guys know in advance. And also like me on Facebook so that you can vote on what genre you want me to remix in my upcoming really huge in-depth remix tutorial that will be out here soon. I'd have to squeeze in this stuff. Dubstep, highly recommended and highly requested as well. So yeah, I never really, well, I wouldn't say never, but I rarely produce dubstep. I don't even listen to it that often, but I do have a basic understanding of how it works. And it is very structured, just like a lot of electronic music, so I will have something to work with here. So yeah, I'll just get right into it. Sample packs, I'm going to leave a link in the description for that as well. It's going to lead to a site that will have like 5 different examples for apparently good sample packs for dubstep. So you guys can read the summaries or whatever and pick whatever you like, but I can be asked to download like 10 gigabytes of samples for this tutorial dedicated for dubstep when I don't even produce it, and I am running low on the good old gigabytes. So I'm just going to use VEC3, stands for Vengeance Essential Club Sounds. I know you guys all know that. And yeah, so you want to pick out some drum instruments because that's what we're going to be making, the percussion like beat. It's going to be really simple, but I'm going to be going very in-depth with this, so I'm trying not to waste any time. So this is my kick. I'm not going to make it very big or very clubby. It just has to be just a kick, just a pretty simple kick. Also, we're going to need some of that hi-hat sound. I like this one because it's very clean. And it has already a bit of a stereo shape on it, I believe, so I quite like it. And this one right here, I'm going to use that as an ambient kind of ping pong sound. I know it doesn't really sound like it yet, but it will. And you get to choose, actually. You can have a snare for your 12-step kind of hit thing, or a clap. It doesn't matter what you prefer. And the reason why snares are more used in dubstep is, I think, I'm assuming here, obviously it does have to do with the style and everything, but like in techno music or trance, well, not really trance at all, but hardstyle and stuff like that, you will have a snare roll, like a bunch of snares, and if you have your snare as your hit instead of a clap, you just have 2 snares going at once and it sounds really, really shitty. So that's why we usually use claps for that, but it does have to do with preference, obviously. So you guys can choose what you like for dubstep because it's really up to you. Let's see if we can find the one. There we go. Something like that, something relatively clean. We'll usually do the trick, and we're going to do some EQ and all that stuff to that. So yeah. Now, for the structure of or maybe our time signature, if you will, dubstep can be timed, or let's say counted in 2 ways. There's the full time and half time. Full time would be like around 130 beats per minute, and that's what we are at right now, but half time would just basically be that divided by 2, which is 65. So it doesn't really matter what tempo you're at. I would consider being just at 130, which is the full time, because it's really much easier to work with when you're trying to make your your basses and all that stuff. Your synthesizers work better with that tempo. But yeah, so dubstep can kind of be counted like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But it can also be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's just halftime. And that just, anyway, that has to do for drum line, because our drum line is going to be halftime even though the rest of the song is going to be full time. So to incorporate that, we have to stretch out the step sequencer. Now to do that, you just go into the left top thing here, and you just gotta click and drag that up until it's to 8. And it's 8 because this is 4, and we're just doing times 2 because we want it to be halftime, and it just balances out. Right, so now for our basic arrangement here. Since we are going halftime, this will not work. And the reason why is because, well, that just isn't halftime. To do halftime like this on a full-time tempo, we just basically have to separate every hit by double its space right now, technically, basically. Yeah. So we want to erase every second kick, and we want to erase all these snares because they're at the wrong spot, and we just want to move it right here to the, well, 4 steps after where it normally be, so on the first, second gray section here, and here as well. It's still on beat, but it is halftime. Now obviously we won't just keep it like that, but we do want the kick to hit first. You know, first thing to hit is always, or usually, the kick. Then we could just have another one go here. You could add another one. And if you feel like you're getting off beat, what you can do is fill each 4 steps with something like a steady hi-hat, and that will keep you on beat. And I know that sometimes they add more than one kick, almost like a roll, and we can do that. Just fill in some steps like this, and then you probably want to turn the velocity down so it just kind of rolls in. So you can hit this right here if you don't want to go into a piano roll, and then we're just going to kind of roll it up a bit. So this is just the volume of each column, if you will. Alright, so you can do that if you want, but it's totally up to you. So we're going to also have an ambient thing, which is that. I know you can barely hear it, but it's going to be like washed and reverb and delay, and we're going to put it right here. And I'm taking out the hi-hats right here because I want it to be isolated, just like played alone. So yeah, anyway, that's going to be our basic arrangement, and it's very, very simple. And it usually is, you know what I mean, but we're just going to stick to the basics for now. Alright, so I already have everything like linked, but it's on my other like preset that I have here, pattern 1. But I gotta just link that, so I'm using all the same instruments. So I'm just gonna link the kick first, and then I'll show you what that sounds like with the EQ that I've done. First of all, I should also mention is the kick is boosted up to almost 0 decibels. You want it to hit, you know, exactly 0 decibels, and that is because it makes everything else so much easier to level, because the kick is normally the highest instrument on the decibel meter, which is this thing right here. So if you have the kick lit up and then you just look right here, you can see that it's hitting 0 decibels, and that makes everything else easier pretty much. It's almost like 0.0, and everything else you just kind of have to work around. So yeah, so to the EQ stuff, I opened up 2 parametric EQ 2s. This one is for just the noise removal. I have it set to mastering, and then 40 hertz to 18K hertz cut. So we're just cutting out the noise pretty much. Also parametric EQ2, this is the actual EQing that I did to the kick. I know it's really weird, but I'll kind of explain to you like what I was thinking here. So I boosted up the low end quite a bit, and that's because I obviously have it cut off right here, so I didn't really have to worry about it getting too noisy. So I did boost it along with the midsection of the bass area here, with the 2. As you can see, it's kind of boosted. I kept that pretty level in the low mid to mid section here with the number 3, and I also boosted at the lower end of the mid section, as you can see with the 4 here at 750 hertz ish. And I did that because it had an interesting kind of sound. I'll show it to you. Sound like a ping pong or something. I don't know why, it's just kind of dying out on me right now, but why is that happening? Or is it just my headphones? Oh yeah, it's just my headphones, sorry about that. But yeah, you guys probably heard it. It was kind of this ping pong kind of sound thing. And I quite like that, so I boosted it up a bit. And also, because that was happening all over the midsection, the upper mid area with the 5 here at 1500, it sounded like too much. It sounded kind of fake. So to balance that boosting up, I boosted or lowered the 1500 hertz down a bit, so the 4 and the 5 are kind of balanced now. And for the 6 and the 7's, pretty simple. I boosted that up at around the same level as the low end, because like if you only boost the low end and you don't boost any of the high end of the kick, it's the click or the punch sound of that kick won't be strong enough to withstand like the huge low end boost that you added, so it'll basically sound pretty fake. So you kind of want to just level that high upper mid treble section to about the same level as you boosted the low section. And I mean, this does differ on every kick. Like every kick, it should be EQ'd differently. There's no like one size fit all. But anyway, you won't really have to worry too much about that, and I won't get any more in depth than I already have here, hopefully. So next thing we're gonna bring into the mix here is the snare. Now I'm gonna link that to the snare channel on the mixer, and I have a reverb too, and the parametric EQ2 is oh, whoop, what happened? Alright, there we go. Turn that up. So it sounds pretty clean and high and bright because I cut off the as you can see, I cut off the bass section, and I boosted up the punch sound of the snare, which is this 4 here, and it's also hitting between -1 to -2 decibels, so it's just right below the kick, but it still has to sound pretty powerful, or else I don't know, I just won't really sound dubsteppy enough in my taste. But yeah, that's usually around where it is. Now for the reverb too, I actually had some thought into this. What I did was I wanted the ambience of that snare to sound bright, like most dubstep sounds are, you know, depending, of course. So what I did was I brought the low cut knob down here up to like 10 o'clock, and that makes the screen look kind of purple, and that's what you want. And you want to also have the high cut up to around 3 o'clock, so that'll sound really, really bright, which is what we want. Also, I made the size go at around like 2:30 o'clock, as you can see right here. Doesn't really matter as long as it's relatively big. And also the delay is moved up to around 70 milliseconds because I wanted the ambience to happen right after the punch or during the punch, and not like at the punch or the click. So that's why I did that small delay. It's like almost, it's not even noticeable. And the most important thing is the decay up here. That basically controls how long you're gonna hear that ambience. For example, if I had the decay all the way up, like the ambience would basically last like 10 minutes. So I have it boosted up just a little bit, but to the point that when the next snare comes in, the ambience will be like just gone. You know what I mean? So the snare's gonna hit, the ambience is gonna drag on, and it's just gonna fade out slowly, just in time for the next snare. And I'll demonstrate that right now. I'll turn down the actual snare, and I'll turn up the wetness so you really hear that ambience. and just watch out for when the next snare hits. There shouldn't be any like ambience. It's just gonna fade out just in time. So yeah, that's what you want, and it sounds very realistic, very professional, and it's just a good idea, pretty much. But like I say, don't really have to worry about it too much because I will have an FLP. But I do want to run through this with you guys. I shouldn't say run since I'm like pasting myself very, very much. But hope you guys appreciate it anyway. So for the constant hi-hat, all I really have is Pan-O-Matic. It's just shifting from left to right at around this speed and this amount automatically, which is LFO. Alright, so you guys can hear that, shifting from left to right. You'll really hear if you have your headphones on. So that's pretty much all I did. If you did EQ that, you would just cut off the low mid, and then bring up the high treble or bring it up this way. And yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. Also for the ambient sound thing that we have, which is this. Yeah, it's really pathetic, but it's gonna sound quite good once we wash in that reverb. It looks like this. The wetness is like almost all the way up. The decay is about the same as the snare, and I didn't really brighten up the low end. I want it to sound quite wet and damp, so you know I brought that up, and basically sounds like this. And also, by the way, I have some delay on that. I think the batteries are dying on my mouse here. Perfect timing. So yeah, it's just a bit of a ping pong kind of sound, and all together it should sound like this. Oh. Now the hi-hats, or both hi-hats, are hitting at -4 decibels. You could turn that up to around -3. You know, depends on the actual sound. You know, but that's where about I have them. And they sound pretty present. And you know, there's some stereo shaping on the ambient thing, but you don't really hear it alone since it is a very small sound. But yeah, that's pretty much the basic drum line we have here. Now I'm going to quickly go through something with you guys. You guys can leave right now, but I want to show you something, and it's something I like to call just sample replacing. You can keep the exact same arrangement right now. Alright, we have this very simple drum kit arrangement, and we can replace the samples with percussion sounds, effects, like weird sounds pretty much. Yeah, just look for some sounds. I guess that one would work for the hi-hat. So we're replacing the constant hi-hat with that. Now it's not always going to sound good, but I guess we'll just keep on looking. Alright, I'm going to replace that sound with our ambient sound. Now obviously you're going to have to do some fixing with the EQ and mixing and all that stuff when you change the samples, but obviously this is just a demonstration. Now we want to replace that snare, and you don't have to do it for every instrument. I'm just going to show you with every instrument. And that could be the kick. Alright, let's replace that with the kick. How about that thing? So that can work at that could work as an intro actually. So we have that as an intro. or even an outro, and then it would come on to the generic dubstep sound, which is that. And you can even blend them both in together, whatever you like, guys. So that's pretty much the tutorial for today, the first tutorial of the very brief series, I guess, for the dubstep genre. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful, and yeah, so please like my Facebook page. Like I said, you can vote on what you'd like me to remix, or not what, but in what genre, because you always remix in a certain genre, right? So you guys can vote on that for my upcoming remix series. It's going to be so in-depth. Like, I'm going to have so many videos for that. But yeah, I need to squeeze this in with a few other things, so just trying to do that. And yeah, so the FLP of this will be in the description, also with the sample pack website link will be in there as well. If it's not on the day of the upload, just give me time. I'm just, you know, probably looking for it and still editing the description. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and in the personal message system that is on YouTube. Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's about it. Have a good one.